Hey everybody, welcome to March. Wow, it's hard to believe we've already made it this far into the school year. And we're still going. All right, so I was thinking, before the school year's over, is there anything that I want to really make sure that I cover this year? And I thought, yes, there is. I want to make sure that sometime this year we get to talking about the instrument families, how instruments are grouped together, because honestly, I don't know that I've really done that every year like I should. So we're definitely doing that this year. March, we've got 4 weeks of music and 4 instrument families to cover. In no particular order, we've got the strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. Well, that should be it, right? 4 weeks, 4 instrument families, pretty easy and done, right? Well, I also got thinking, what else do I want to go over? Well, I got thinking we had January, February, March is the 3rd month of the year. And I was thinking, well, maybe we should talk about some music that's in 3, right? That you would count like 1, 2, 3. I know I've showed some of you how to conduct over the years, right? If you have a slow 3, it's down, out, up, like a nice big triangle, right? If you have, say, can you see by the dawn? I should know better than to conduct and play at the same time, but the Star Spangled Banner is in 3. Then if you had a faster 3, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I know you've heard this one, right? Amazing Grace, how 1, 2, 3, 1. Anyway, you've heard that before. Amazing Grace is in 3. But I thought instead of just talking about music in 3, I want to talk about some dances that are in 3. So here's another secret about myself. Besides playing for all the choirs here, which of course I love and miss, people singing and playing, especially in church, it's magnificent. I've also, for the last 20 years, played the piano for dance classes. So I've actually picked up, although I'm not the greatest dancer myself, I've learned a few steps so I could teach you how to do the mazurka, the polonaise, the waltz. But this week I want to start off with one of the oldest dances in 3, the minuet. So for the month of March, we're having a little bit of musical March madness, where each week we're going to talk about 2 things, a dance that's in 3 and one of the groups of the instrument family. So this week we've got the minuet and the strings. So the minuet, it's an old dance in 3, and I've been playing minuets on the piano for years and years, like this one by Bach. Some of you might have heard it. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's certainly in 3, except one problem about the minuet is it's one of the dances I never learned how to dance, and I'm going to attempt to teach you how to dance the steps for the minuet. And guess what? I only just learned last night. So we're going to keep it simple, but believe it or not, I'm going to show you the minuet. And we're going to start out by watching some real dancers do the minuet and watch and see how they're dressed, what kind of room they're in, and what the scene might have been. So here you are, the minuet. Well, that's not how people dress today, is it? Not usually. So for the minuet, we have to go back in time. We're going back in time to the royal courts of Europe, especially France, around the 1600s or so. This is a long time ago. So this is back when the men would wear their frilly powdered wigs with fancy jackets. The women had big dresses. It was very fancy and formal because you were at a royal court. So if you had your nose in the air a little bit, it was okay because the minuet is a very dignified dance. So now I'm going to let another woman explain how it's a 6-count pattern, and I'll show you what it is in just a little bit. I'll let her explain it first. You can watch another couple all dressed up do part of the minuet. Then I'm going to show you.
The minuet, like the courant, has its own characteristic step units. such as the minuet step of 2 movements as described by Rameau. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The fact that these minuet steps take up 6 beats has implications for the musician playing minuets written in 3/4 or 3/8. It is helpful to think of the music measures in pairs, with the first measure having a strong beat and the second measure having a less strong beat.
See, here's the part of class where if you're able to stand up where you are, I invite you to stand. And if you have to say sitting, that's okay. I'll show you how to do it. Sitting, you're just going to pretend your hands are your feet. But I'm going to do it standing. Remember, you're only counting to 6, right? Because if the minuet is in 3, it's 3 plus 3 is 6. It's just a 6-beat pattern. So, and there's only 2 different kinds of steps. You're either stepping with, not the tippy toe, but like the balls of your foot. You're either doing a step, and then the other foot, step, 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 kind of like you're tiptoeing, right? That's easy. Or you're doing this kind of a step where you're going toe and then landing on your heel. Toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel. So it's either toe, heel, or just toe. But they don't happen back to back. It's in a certain order. So I'm going to do it really slowly. I'm going to go like this. Step 1 is your right foot, toe. It's 1, 2. Then 3 is left foot. Then right, left toe, heel. So I'm going to count first, and then I'll do it with my hands. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to do it saying right and left. It's like right, heel, left, right, left, heel. Ooh, I almost fell over. Not a good sign. All right, this time I'm going to do it with my hands for the sitting people. So you can keep using your legs or try your hands. So it's like this. It's like right, down, left, right, left, down. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So notice on counts 1 and 5, you're doing like this thing, a toe, heel, only on 1 and 5. The others are just stepping on your toes, right? So let me try it again, then I'll show you with music notes. So it's here, it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And with my feet, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the minuet. Now I'm going to show you with music notes. Now we have our rhythm here shown with the music notes. So it's minuet, M-I-N-U-E-T. I know it looks kind of like a V, but it's supposed to be a U. I could have been clearer. That's in English, minuet. In French, sometimes it's spelled this way, minuet. But for now, we'll just call it minuet in English. So, all right. So this rhythm, you should all know what this is. Let me just review to make sure. So we have half notes, right? Ta, right? Quarter notes are ta. Then you get a ta right away, and then ta. Now I'm going to do that in rhythm because that wasn't very good just now. All right. I'm going to count in myself. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then clap the rhythm. And you can clap it with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ta, 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 ta. Is that what you got? Good, that's what I got. So we're just going to repeat that rhythm over and over. That makes the 6 counts, right? Well, this is 2 plus 1, 3, right? Plus 1 plus 2 is 3. So actually, I'm going to put a bar line in between here so you can see each of the bars in this rhythm. So, all right. So we just repeat this over and over. This is how we step the minuet. you're just alternating feet each time you get a new note. So this is your right foot, this is your left foot, this is your right foot, and this is your left. The tricky thing is that when you see a half note, you go toe, heel, right? Ta. Then you switch feet and you go ta. Then you switch feet and you go ta, then ta. So it's kind of like right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. I'm going to try to do it with my hands because you can't see my feet way down there. So I'm just going to try it. You can try and mirror me. Here I go. 1, 2, 3. Ta, 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 ta. Toe, heel, toe, 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 heel. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, left, right, left. Good. Hopefully that was clear. The minuet is going to come back at the end also. So, all right. Now, I did say we were going to talk about stringed instruments, right? So now I'd like you to watch a little video of some people talking about string instruments, basically any instrument that has a string that is stretched and vibrates, and then I'll show you some homemade string instruments.
I love this piece. In fact, I think it was the first bit of classical music that I ever heard.
Ah, yes, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It's got the best start to any piece of music ever. Dum, 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 dum.
That's brilliant. But it's also the string instruments. This piece uses them so well.
They just bring a real feeling to a piece of music.
But they play such different sounds as well.
You know what, Fran? I think it's about time we had a proper look at the string section.
Let's do it. Okay, so this might be a piano, but it is actually also a string instrument. If we look inside, you can see that there are strings of different lengths and thicknesses. At this end, the strings are really thick, and as we go along, the strings get thinner and thinner.
When you press a piano key, a small hammer hits one of the strings, making it vibrate. As it vibrates, it moves the air particles around it, which vibrates the ones next to them and the ones next to them. You've formed a sound wave. When that sound wave reaches your ear, you hear a note.
And the note you hear depends on the string that's been hit. You can see here the hammer is hitting really thick strings. And so it makes notes that have a low pitch. But if Greg presses keys at this end, the hammer hits thin strings and they make high-pitched notes. So, that is a piano and you play a piano with keys. But what about other string instruments? Well, a guitar works by either plucking the strings, like this, or strumming them, like this.
Lovely. Just like this sitar. The sitar, which is popular in Indian classical music, has a lot of strings. The exact number varies from instrument to instrument and musician to musician. This one has 6 on top and 9 on the bottom. And you play it a little bit like this.
That's good. Good face while you're playing as well. And then there's the cello, which can be plucked like the guitar, or it can be played by rubbing a bow against the strings, like this.
Oh, that's some beautiful playing, Fran. The thing is, we can't actually see what's going on because it's all happening too fast. So, let's use our super slow-mo camera and have a look at those vibrations in action.
The cello is sort of the violin's big brother, and you can see that the string is moving from side to side. It's actually vibrating really, really quickly, and what it's doing is making the air particles close to it vibrate too, making those sound waves. Different types of string behave in different ways. The thickness of a string is really important. Thin strings vibrate quickly. This means they make a note with a high pitch, and thick strings vibrate more slowly, and they make a lower pitch note. Just like we saw on the piano.
The length of a string is very important too. This is my mini harp. It's a string instrument and it goes from long strings right down to short strings, just like the piano. Long strings contain more stuff, more matter than shorter strings. And the more stuff something is made of, the longer it takes to speed up and slow down. So long strings vibrate more slowly than short strings. If I choose two strings, the same thickness but different lengths, so these two here, let's have a listen. This is the longer one, and this is the shorter one. The shorter one makes a slightly higher pitch note.
But also the tighter the string is, the higher the note it makes. So, on this violin, if I pluck this string, then listen to the sound it makes. But if I turn this peg to tighten the string, the pitch should go higher and higher, like this. So, the pitch of a note depends on three different things: the thickness of the string, its length, and how tightly it's pulled.
Thickness, length of the string, and how tight it is. Got it. But I do want to show you this. Take this stretchy chord, stretch it nice and tight, and twang it. Doesn't really make much of a musical instrument, does it? Although it does make a sound, it's just not loud enough.
Now what we need to do is find a way of making the sound louder.
Yes, we need to amplify it. Right, are you sitting comfortably? I'll begin. To make a violin, we need something called a sound box. It's often the largest part of a string instrument, and it's made of a material that vibrates easily. The sound box of a violin is made from wood, and the key thing is the box contains air that can vibrate to and amplify the sound. A small wooden piece called a bridge sits on top of the sound box. Next comes the fingerboard, which is where a violinist's fingers press down on the strings, which go from the sound box over the bridge and up the fingerboard where they're connected to the pegs. When you run a bow over a string, the string vibrates, the bridge vibrates, the sound box vibrates, the air in the sound box vibrates, all of which makes larger and more powerful sound waves that are much easier to hear. And remember, larger vibrations make louder sounds.
Lots of things can be used as sound boxes. We've made this double bass from a metal bin, a piece of wood, and some bungee cord. The bin's been carefully cleaned and everything's been emptied out, so there's no rubbish left inside. Greg, I thought you'd thrown him out.
Sorry.
Where was I? Right, so we've got our bungee cords which are stretched across the opening of our sound box, and I've got this wooden spatula here which is acting as a bridge. And we've got three different strings. They're the same thickness and the same length. But the bottom one isn't very tight, the middle one is a little bit tighter, and the top one is even tighter still. So each one of them will make a different note, like this.
Perfect. Now, as we saw on the harp, long strings make lower notes than short strings. We use that idea to play instruments like the violin and the guitar, and we use our fingers to press down on the strings to make them longer or shorter. So let's have a look. This is long. As it gets shorter, this is called stopping the string.
Now, as we've seen, one of the best ways of finding out how string instruments work is just to make your own. And this is how to make your very own guitar.
Great.
What you need is a cardboard box, and you just cut a hole in the top of it, like this. Then, thank you, you get some elastic bands, cut them, and thread them through onto one side of your hole, and tie a knot so they keep in place. And finally, nice work, thread them through to the other side of the hole. And then put some plastic or wood tubes there to act as your bridge and make sure they're nice and tight. Put a cardboard tube on the end to make a neck, and there you have it. A completed homemade guitar.
Oh yeah!
You can even make a guitar-shaped template, so it looks even more like a guitar. Now I think we should put our homemade guitars to the test with another blast of the Fifth Symphony.
Roll over, Beethoven.
Well, that was kind of a fun video, right? Fun and funny. So now I'm going to use a guitar to talk about some of the things that they talked about in the video, a real instrument, and then they're going to talk about some homemade instruments too. So now he said there were three things that if you have any vibrating string, that determine how high or low the sound is, right? One is how long it is. So a longer string is going to be lower, right? A shorter string is going to be higher, right? So now that was my voice, not a string. Now on a guitar, how do you do that? Well, the string vibrates from this end, which is called the nut. It's holding the string in place. And then it's kind of floating just above the fingerboards and frets all the way to this end, which is the bridge. So if I pluck any string, that's the low E, right? If I want to make that string higher, I have to make the string shorter. So I'm going to go up a fret. So I go like this, or up 2 frets. It's higher now because now the string is from here to here, right? We've taken out this bottom part. So I'm going to keep going up, right? Now I've gone up a whole octave, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now this is kind of an interesting point that they didn't make in the video. Anytime you take a string and you cut it in half, you go up an octave, right? If you measured with a ruler, this distance between this fret and the bridge and this fret and the nut, they would be the same exact distance. So that's 1 octave, right? And I can do it with any string here. Whoops. You can tell I'm not a guitar player, I had the wrong fret. There's an octave, yeah. Okay, so now it's not just this end of the string that would be an octave, but if you played it on the other side, hear that? That's also the same note. That's this side vibrating. Now we go to this side. Sounds better over here, right? Let me try the top string. E. Kind of wimpy sounding. Let's try this side. Oh, much louder. So that's how important this bridge is. That's another thing I'm going to talk more about. The bridge. The strings are pushing down on this bridge, which the sound goes vibrating into the top of the guitar, right? This whole piece of wood can vibrate a lot, and those vibrations go down inside here, and it makes the sound a lot louder. So I'm going to show you with something that's not even part of the guitar. I'm going to take this tuning fork. Now, if I just hit it by itself, you hear that? It's not very loud. I can sort of hear it. It's pretty quiet. So now, I'm going to take that same tuning fork, I'm going to strike it, and I'm going to stick it right here on the top of the guitar, and you'll be able to hear it right away. Check this out. All right. Hear that? Right away, you can tell, right? I'm going to do it again. Aha. So that's proof that the guitar is like a big amplifier for the strings. It works for tuning forks too. So, all right, let's try something else that's not part of the guitar. How about a rubber band? Now we're getting crazy. All right, so I'm going to take a rubber band stretched between 2 pieces of wood. Let's see, can you hear it? Kind of. Not a very good instrument, but that's okay. Now I'm going to stick one of these ends near the bridge and see if we can hear it better. Wait, let's get a better sound. Now, ooh, off the guitar, on the guitar. It's not beautiful, but it's louder, right? So that's the main thing. The bridge makes it a lot louder when you have the top of the guitar, everything vibrating. So, all right. So there were, let's see, we talked about the length of the string. Like when you shorten it, it gets higher. Oh, the thickness. That's also important because now on a guitar, it's kind of interesting. The distance from here to here is pretty much the same for all strings. But the lowest string sounds different from the highest string. It's because if you look closely at pretty much most of these stringed instruments like this, the lowest string is a lot thicker, right? This is a lot of windings. It's a thick string. This one is very thin. So that's why they can be the same length, but sound pretty different. So, all right. And then one more thing, the tension or how tight the strings are. So let me tighten up the lowest string a little bit. Right? right? Pretty much all stringed instruments have some way to tune them up. Now, what if we go down instead? What happens? Well, eventually it just gets so low that the thing's just flopping around, like, right? Like I don't know, a dead fish, or, well, dead fish don't flap, but you get the point. It's flapping around. Now, the string was not designed to be this loose on the guitar and sound good. So you have to tighten it up a little bit more. Now it's starting to sound like something. That's about where we want it to be. So, all right, so those are the three things: the length, the thickness of the string, and how tight it is, or the tension. All right. Now let's go to, let's do some more rubber band homemade instruments. Now I'm going to show you some really cheap, kind of crude, low quality, but they're stringed instruments that you can make with things you have at home. So let's see, I have the rubber band that I got from buying some asparagus, and if I take this can from chicken broth, I stick this around here, pluck it, the chicken broth guitar. Right, now I have another can from coffee. Let's see, stretch another rubber band around here. Right, if I want to play them both together, I've got the coffee and the chicken broth. Well, it kind of sounds like something. Maybe you want to try tuning them. You can stretch them if you want a different note or higher, right? Well, maybe not beautiful, but it was a very cheap instrument. So there we have it, the coffee can guitar. You can also take, well, any container really, like a trash can or whatever, and try stretching the rubber band over it and pluck it to hear what kind of sound you get. So you can experiment with whatever you have at home. You can try different rubber bands. Now, how about the book guitar? I'm just going to take any book. I got the All God's People Sing book here from Bethany, but any, well, hardcover is better than paperback. But you just stretch it around here. Now, it's not a guitar yet because the string can't really vibrate. It's stuck on the book. But if you take a piece of wood or even a pencil or anything that raises that up a little bit, let's see. Now we have a vibrating string. Let's hear what it sounds like. Aha. You can kind of hear that, right? It's a note. Now, let's try what I did on a guitar. What if we take this vibrating string and cut it in half? Let's see if we go up an octave. Let's see. Half is about right here. Well, it's close. Well, I did it. That sounds like an octave, right? Now, with a rubber band, it's not that precise. A guitar is more precise. The rubber band, you can see this keeps sliding all over the place. The rubber band is kind of stretchy, so it's hard to get an exact octave. Well, that's an octave. Pretty close. Anyway, you get the idea. The book guitar is pretty cheap and easy to make. Now, let's do one more trick involving the real guitar and a rubber band. So, now the main difference between, well, there's a lot of differences between the guitar and a lot of the other stringed instruments like the violin, viola, cello, and the bass is that usually, well, the guitar has these frets, they don't have frets, but usually you play those with a bow, right? You've seen people bowing or violin. Well, this is too big to do that, but we're going to make a very cheap bow using this rubber band. So I'm going to take the rubber band, stretch it between my fingers, and I'm going to try to bow on the guitar. Let me try this lowest string here. Okay. Ooh, this is not easy. It wasn't designed for this, but well, it's kind of making sound, right? That's how you make sound on most of the other stringed instruments is you have something rubbing against the string. Now, if I can change the pitch. It's not very loud, but anyway, you get the idea. The guitar violin. Now, it doesn't work very well on the guitar for several reasons. Well, first, I'm not using a real bow. Also, the guitar wasn't really designed for that, so I'm kind of breaking all the rules. If you look at the bridge of the guitar, it's flat, right? The strings are pretty much like a flat surface. But if you looked at a violin, viola, cello, or bass, the bridge is really curved. It goes way up like this. So the middle strings are a lot higher off the bridge than the outer strings, which means that it's easier to get a bow in there. Well, also there's a little more room to maneuver with a bow. But if the strings were higher, there's more room to get a bow and play it. So anyway, that's kind of our quick tour of stringed instruments. Now, I hope you still remember the minuet. To finish up, we have a minuet with some real string players, a minuet by Mozart. So first we're going to listen to make sure it really is in 3, then we'll try to review the dance steps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Oh, it is good. Right, left, right, left. Right, left, right, left. Toe, bow, toe, toe, toe. Now watch my feet. Oh boy. Here we go. Right, left, left. Oh, I don't want to forget to bow because we're in the royal court. All right, bow to the audience. Bow to, well, I can't bow to my partner. There is no partner because this is the COVID version. No partners. All right, well, I hope you had fun learning about a dance in 3, the minuet, and learning about stringed instruments and string music, and somehow putting it all together at the end. So I had fun, hopefully you had fun, and we'll have another adventure next week.